The man accused of opening fire outside this weekend's White House Correspondents' dinner now facing 3 charges, including attempting to assassinate President Trump. The 31-year-old suspect from California also accused of transporting a firearm across state lines and discharging a firearm during a crime of violence. The Justice Department releasing images of the weapons. Authorities say the suspect bought a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun last year and a .38 caliber semi-automatic pistol back in 2023. Investigators say that the attack was planned for weeks, with the suspect booking the hotel back on April 6th. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro says no stone will go unturned in this investigation.
There will be nothing that won't be identified and discovered as it relates to his past actions with this digital footprint that we're looking to establish right now. Now we have the evidence we need, the complaint we needed for the presentment. There will be a hearing on Thursday and then another preliminary hearing in May. Make no mistake, this is just the beginning of this indictment, of these charges. The indictment will include a lot more charges. We'll know a lot more. But right now, we have a solid case.
This was the first White House Correspondents' dinner that President Trump was attending as president. His last the time that he went was 2011. He was a private citizen then. But there was a very different political climate at that time. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt slamming Democrats' rhetoric leading up to this shooting. Watch.
This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric directed at President Trump day after day after day for 11 years has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment. I have a whole host of examples that we can share with you after. It is pages and pages of major Democrat Party elected officials saying, such as Rep. Hakeem Jeffries just this month, said, "We are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere all the time."
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries defending his comments after being called out by the White House, as you just heard from Karoline Leavitt. Watch this.
The notion that any of us are concerned with so-called criticism from these phony Republicans as it relates to anything that has been said, certainly as it relates to the comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle that Republicans launched. I stand by it. You can continue to criticize me for it. I don't give a damn about your criticism.
Joining me now, former federal prosecutor and former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask you about this rhetoric that we're seeing, and also maybe the radicalization of this individual, Cole Allen. You know, going through his background, he was highly educated. He went to Caltech, mechanical engineer. He created a video game. Is the rhetoric that we're hearing from the left one of the reasons why you're seeing more and more radicalization in these online groups that would lead to someone trying to assassinate the president?
Yeah, it would be hard to argue that it's not, because this rhetoric has become so extreme from the Democratic Party. It's really, they've become the party of just hate and division. And you look at it, it doesn't even just extend to Donald Trump. They've attacked his supporters and people that work in the administration, calling them Nazis and fascists. And it's just a matter of routine. So it doesn't surprise me that somebody would take this to a level that would seem consistent with the rhetoric, because if they equate Donald Trump and his supporters to Nazis, it dehumanizes him to the point that it legitimizes violence. So the Democrats should take some responsibility. But I think Hakeem Jeffries, is not backing down, and they've realized that this is really their only thing they have now, because they've lost a lot of these policy arguments. So everything has been reduced to just sort of this name calling, this extreme rhetoric, because they believe believe it's the most effective thing for them politically, which is just shameful because it puts not just President Trump in danger, but everyone around him in danger. And an event like this should be just a fun event, and it was shaping up to be a fun event. And instead, people now have to be worried, are they going to be attacked? Are they going to be killed by just going to an event? It's really shameful, and the Democrats' reaction to it, it's hard to believe that other than John Fetterman, no one really seems to be willing to take a step back on the rhetoric.
What do you make of the security at the Hilton on Saturday night, from your standpoint? There's a lot of question marks now about the effectiveness of that security perimeter.
Yeah, like my initial take on it was, hey, it worked well. This guy was caught. No, he wasn't able to harm anyone, wasn't able to get in there. But then hearing some of the reporting after the fact, particularly I think Bill Maloogian was reporting on it, that it was very easy to sort of navigate through these parties and through the event by just showing, I think, an invitation, and there's no way that they're even linking up the invitation with the person. So it does concern me that it wasn't as good as it could have been. But again, the secondary part is no one got hurt, nobody got killed. And so you don't want to, say it was all bad. But every one of these, I think, is a lessons learned moment. What can we do to make things better? Because, again, we have the World Cup coming up. We have the 250th anniversary. We have more events, and we need to make things better. But it's so important to always be on top of the game and never get complacent with this stuff.
Well, that's why you've got to fund DHS. I mean, this is the time. You really, if you think about it, enough is enough when you've got Secret Service agents that are putting their travel charges on their own credit cards. They're not getting paid. These are the people that are protecting the President of the United States, and they're not getting paid. I mean, this really has intensified the debate right now on funding DHS. I mean, this is enough. I think a lot of folks are saying enough is enough.
Exactly, and that's such a great point because these frontline agents are getting paid, but again, if they're going to go into financial ruin by having to charge all these things on their credit card, that's a bad thing. That adds stress. But remember, a lot of the Secret Service are the secondary people, the people sort of the supportive role. They're not getting paid. So what is that doing to the overall security? And remember, with the TSA agents, I think 1,000 of them have already quit permanently. So it's not that easy to replace people that decide to quit. Morale is worse. And it does seem like this should be the perfect time for everyone to take a step back, be mature, say, hey, we have an issue on something else, but let's fund DHS. But you really have to marvel at the Democratic Party's commitment to open borders and mass amnesty, because it seems like there is nothing more important on a policy issue than those two things right now, because nothing seems to sway them. They just keep doubling down. Unfortunately, they're doubling down by putting all of us at risk, particularly, people in airports, public officials. And it's just so shameful that there's not, other than, I guess, John Fetterman again, that they're not more mature people in this situation to make public safety the priority rather than politics.
I just got a minute with you, Jonathan, real quick. Are you concerned about World Cup security? Because the cybersecurity arm of DHS, this is the advanced team that would be doing all the preparation, which, to be clear here, takes months when you've got a large-scale event like World Cup matches happening around North America in major stadiums, or the America 250 celebrations. I mean, they're also under DHS. And to my understanding, they're not getting paid as well, and they can't really do the work that they need to be doing. Or am I misguided in that?
That's exactly right. I'm glad you mentioned the cybersecurity, because they're not getting paid. And remember, the people in those industries, they're very marketable in the private sector. So if these people start leaving, this is going to be hard to replace them. And also, you're right, with the World Cup coming up. And remember, the one thing that's important about the World Cup, it's multiple venues, which makes security harder. It's not just like the Super Bowl that's one place for 1 week. It's multiple venues over a period of weeks. So that makes security more difficult. And again, that makes it more vulnerable. And when the spotlight's on it, the bad guys might want to use this as an opportunity. And if they see our security is not up to speed, they're going to maybe look at it as more of an opportunity to try to harm people and make some sort of political statement.
It is a very real threat, in particular, after these horrific events we saw this weekend. Jonathan Fahey, it's always great to talk to you about this. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody.